Now I've got a really cool pattern for you today. It's a very simple fly, but I think it's quite elegant, and I think you're gonna like it. Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm Matt, thanks for stopping by. So when I sat down today to figure out what I'm going to tie, I broke out The History of Fly Fishing in 50 Flies, a great book if you like the history of fly fishing and fly tying. I did a review a couple months ago, so definitely check it out if you're into that kind of thing. And the pattern I'm doing today out of this fly was created by Harry Darbee in 1950. Now Harry told of the origin and how he created this fly in his 1977 book, Catskill Fly Tyer, My Lifetimes and Techniques. In it, he said, Terrell Moore, one of the most famous fishermen of the time, came to him and asked him if he could create an imitation of one of the bigger mayflies, like an isonychia. Because most of the flies tied at the time to imitate these big bugs were a little bit bulky, and yeah, they would fish fine in riffled and fast water, but they really didn't give you the best presentation for fishing in smooth, slow, smooth as glass water. So Harry came up with this really a pretty innovative technique. He created an extended body fly with using up one feather, the Mallard flank feather. He created the extended body with that, and then only one other feather in the fly was the Hackle. So fly became called the two feather. And fly became fairly popular in the 50s, and A.J. McLean published an article in Field and Stream in 1960 about it. But for some reason, it kind of fell out of favor, and you won't see this fly in many books today. You won't see a whole lot of information on it online. But it's a pretty cool pattern, and it just shows you one more example of why Harry Darbee was as innovative as he was. So again, a really simple pattern, but I think it's kind of elegant looking, and I think you're going to like it. Let's give it a shot. So there it is in the vise, the Darbee two feather. Now, this is a pretty simple fly it's kind of elegant, but it's a pretty simple tie. And common sizes for this guy would be whatever your mayflies are. 12 to 16 would always be a good start. This is a size 12, and it's a standard length hook, though it does look like a 1X short, but I think it looks that way because it's the competition point bend in. And I'm going to use white thread. Recipe says white or black. I think white is going to look a little bit better with the colors I'm using. So I'm going to catch my thread in. Don't take it all the way back. This is a fly where we don't use the whole back half of the hook. So maybe halfway is about right. Maybe not even halfway. So the first thing we're going to tie in is the first of the two feathers, this Mallard flank. And they use Mallard because it's got this natural bend. And that's what we want for the extended body. And I guess the trickiest part of this fly is finding the right size Mallard feather. And it might just take you a little bit of trial and error, a little bit of practice. After you've tied 2 or 3, you'll figure it out. So what we do, we're splitting it up right there, and then just kind of pulling the base of the feather, which is going to be the front of the body, pull it kind of tight. And I'm holding it, not with my material hand, but I'm going to put a thread wrap here with my opposite hand, not tight at all, and just really letting the weight of the bobbin hold it in. So that's my extended body, but that's not long enough yet. So that's why I haven't put any tight wraps on it. I'm going to pull it up and get the length of the body that I want. Right there. Could probably even go a little bit longer than that. So let's cheat just a little bit longer. Okay, I think that extended body is going to look pretty good right there. So now I can throw a couple of tighter wraps on it. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put a wrap right up under, because this thing will spin around on you. It's really slick thread on my hook, and there's not a whole lot of bite. So the next thing we're going to do is, well, I was thinking we could go ahead and cut that tail, but let's do the front part of it first. So these fibers right here, okay, we're going to need to cut that middle stem out. So I'm going to put a few wraps just right here to go a little bit forward. Now I'm really locked in. My body looks fine, but I have this big fat stem right here to contend with. So let's just get in here and cut this pretty close. And I'm going to cut some of those fibers with it. That's fine, because I'm going to need to cut a few more of them in just a minute anyway. So we're going to stand these up, and they're going to be long. They're going to be a lot longer than your hackle, and that's going to be fine. The only pictures I've seen of this fly had really long ones. In this history of fly fishing and 50 flies, they were super long. So I'm going to put a few figure 8 X wraps in between it, just to, probably don't even need to do that because they are staying apart on their own, but I do want them propped up a little bit. So I'm going to just take a few wraps right in front, build a little dam, just try to prop them up a little. And I think that's going to be fine. They're a little bushy though, so let's trim some of this off just to thin them up a little bit. Okay, I think that's going to be fine right there. Got a couple more that are going a little bit crazy on me, but they're going to be hidden by the hackle anyway. So now let's go ahead and fix this tail. So what we do here, just take your bodkin, and you could even do it with your scissors, and I'm just going to pull a couple, 2 or 3 right from the edge on both sides, and then I'm going to trim the middle piece. So let's see if we can do that right here. Okay. Might be hard to see how I'm holding it with my fingers, but I've got the middle piece right here separated from the edge. Now I'm going to just do that right there. So now you can kind of see I've got, 3 or 4 fibers on each side sticking back. Now we don't have a whole lot left. Let's tie in the hackle. And the recipe says any hackle you want, any dry fly hackle you want. This is a light fly, so I'm going to go with a grizzly. And I'm kind of a Smoky Mountain guy at heart anyway. So I'm going to pick a hackle that's about one size bigger than the hook I'm using. So that's what, instead of using my hackle gauge, I just put the feather over the hook and then pull it until I get about the length I want. Find where that point was and then just strip it. Now cut it off, give me a little tie-in point. Okay, now let's catch this hackle in right back behind these wings, these big long wings. Okay, I'm going to pull it up just a little bit so I have a little bit of bare stem showing for that first wrap. That'll work right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my thread up in front of this wing, and I'm going to put 3, maybe 4 wraps behind the wings, and then probably 2 in front of it. So it's a fairly bushy hackled fly, and that's really what keeps it floating and in the right aspect angle when it hits the water. So I think that was 4 behind it. I really need to count. It might have just been 3, but either way, I think let's do 1 more right here and we'll be good. So let's go ahead and catch this one off. 2 wraps right there, and let's snip this excess hackle right here. I've got a few fibers going forward that I want to need to take care of. These little guys right here, I could probably push them back and capture them in the head, but I think we're going to be fine right there. So let's take care of this head. And you'll see a lot of really old Catskill flies, they don't put a lot of time and effort in the head. Just a few wraps and then whip finish it. Don't really build a head at all, so to speak. So let's whip finish it, then take a look, see if we need to do any cleanup. So I think we're fine right here. Now notice these wings really are high, but I think it doesn't matter because how this fly is very lightweight. There's not much density at all to it. And when it's going to hit the water, it's going to hit the water with the bend of the hook first, and that's going to sink down in the water. The body is probably going to sit in the surface film, and the fish are going to see the body and those tail fibers, and then just a little bit of the hackle, which is holding it up. So I think that's the whole purpose, why the fly can be effective. It's just a very light lander, and you can fish it in some really smooth water without spooking the fish. So that's it, everybody. A very simple, but still it's a pretty elegant looking pattern. And I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care. We'll see you next time.